Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer. Today we have the Hollywood Racks Destination e-bike rack with an included ramp. We're going to take a look at how it fits here on our 2023 GMC Terrain. If you're looking for a bike rack that really is designed for those heavier electric bikes, has a ramp included, and has a lot of clearance for if you need to get access into your storage area of your Terrain, this is going to be a good option for you. We're going to take a look at some of the features focusing on our car here. One of the biggest things to this bike rack is its tilt away feature. This is what you'll use if you need to access your hatch, but you have your heavier bikes loaded up. Now, it does seem a little tricky at first because you do have to look for the knob, which is in the back of the rack. But it's a very simple process. You just need to loosen that knob enough where you can push it out of the slot, holding it in. And once that's pushed out of the way, you can then get yourself prepped. I like to stabilize myself against the vehicle as I push out on the rack and get the bikes tilted down. Now for those heftier bikes, some other people do prefer pulling the rack down towards them, whichever makes you more comfortable. But now you have so much space, you can fully open up your hatch, get into your cargo area, grab whatever you may need. If you're the type of person that likes to switch out their shoes in their hatch area, that's going to be an option for you now because of how deep that tilt away function is. So to demonstrate what it would be like if you were over on this side, you can now lift up on the rack and get it up towards your vehicle. I don't really recommend putting too much weight on the bike itself. Try to grab the rack frame instead when possible. But once you're in this position, just push that knob right back in, tighten it back down, and then you're ready to ride. So what types of bikes can you carry with this rack? Well, you do have that 70-pound weight capacity, which is for those heavier electric bikes, and you also have multiple points of contact. This has a couple or one more strap than you would usually see on a bike rack because it needs that extra support. So 3 straps, 1 and 2 are going to be up front, and they're going to work as the chock for the front wheel, and then a supporting strap for the back. Now, the straps are angled in a way where it's easier to engage or disengage the strap when you're facing the other side of the bike rack. So you just press the lever, lift the strap up, and pivot it out of the way of your spokes. Once the straps are off, I then grab the included ramp with this rack. So the way the ramp works is once you loosen the knob, you're then able to extend the ramp out, and then this fits into the rear cradle of your bike rack. So it won't be able to go up to the front, so you are going to have to just look around your vehicle, see if you have space to ramp your bike down, and then let's say your bike is loaded up over here. You could also use the ramp and just push your bike on over, and that will help you with those heavier bikes. With that all set up, we can now release our bike. So notice here how our knob is a locking knob. This is going to be helpful when you're driving around and want to keep your bikes locked. You're not having to deal with cable locks that you have to remove before driving. Now we're just going to loosen this knob, and then this will lift out. We're going to pivot it out of the way for now. And then now we can ramp our bike down. So you do have to be mindful of things like handlebars, the pedals coming up against the mast, and also focusing on making sure that your front and your rear wheels are lined up with your ramp as you go down. Now once your bikes are off, I do recommend just packing up your bike rack a little bit, like folding your ramp back down. You can put this back into your car or in your garage. Compared to other racks that have the ramp stored on them, this is stored separately. Now, you also would do good with putting your straps away so you're not flopping around as you drive around. What we're going to do is we're going to lower our main mast. So this involves pulling these straps out so that we can flip the levers down. Once both sides are disengaged, you can then fold your mast down and then put the levers and the straps back in. This position is what you'll use only if you want to fold your bike rack up. So why would you fold your bike rack up? Well, That's because the rack does take up some space behind your vehicle. So let's take some measurements to show you exactly how much space it does take up or where it sits. So we'll start with ground clearance, and this is measured from the end of the rack to the ground, about 14 inches here at the end, and then over here about 18.5 inches. And that's gonna be where your bike rack sits. Since your hitch on your Terrain sits really close to the ground, about 8.5 inches, you want a little bit more shank rise so you're not bottoming out when you go up steep inclines like driveways and hills. And you also want to make it easier for you to load your bikes up onto the rack. So in all honesty, because it is on the lower side, you may not need the ramp unless you have a really, really heavy bike or you're on some strange terrain. The next measurement is going to be from the bumper to the end of the bike rack. We're going to pretend the mast is not folded down just yet. And this is at 20 or 30 inches of space. So if you have a small garage or need to park into a really tight spot, this is going to be helpful for that. Also, with this measurement, if you did want to, say, fold this up to be more compact because it doesn't fit very well in your garage, well, we are going to be able to fold it up using a clip as well as a pin. On the shank going into our hitch receiver, there's going to be this clip holding this pin into place. So this, it's not threaded, but it does just pop out. And once that's out, you're able to lift the bike rack up. This goes up very easily up against our vehicle. We are going to be mindful of the positioning of our frame mounts and make sure that those clamps aren't sitting out. And the spot where you had your pin in before, it's not going to be replaced by a spot on the bike rack in this compact position. So make sure to put that pin and clip right back in before you drive away. This is going to be our portable position, so let's take some measurements to see the difference this makes. From the bumper to what is now the end of the rack, that's going to be about 12.5 inches, or 1.5 inches. So big difference compared to when this was folded down. While it looks like it comes close to the vehicle, in all reality, there's plenty of space between our bike rack and our car, as long as you make sure to be very intentional about the location of your hooks. These do tighten down into a more fixed position if you want to make sure they're sturdy and steady. And this is what your bike rack looks like from behind. Now, things I look out for are visibility things. So while our window and our taillights are visible, this definitely covers our license plate and our backup camera. Our backup camera sits right over there where the Hollywood Racks logo is. So even though it has a more open design, if you do want the best visibility through your camera, as limited as it may be, try to make sure that your clamps are over to the side of the mast, and then you might be able to see a bit over and to the side of that backup camera. So even with that high weight capacity, the rack itself is unwieldy but not as heavy, and this does fit into your 2-inch hitch receivers, and it has an anti-rattle pin. When comparing this bike rack with some other bike racks, usually I consider the Yakima On-Ramp LX its close comparison, but on the Terrain, the on-ramp actually did not tilt down far enough. That gave me enough clearance for full access into the hatch. So the Destination E definitely beat that one out when it came to access or clearance with the hatch door. Now it does have that 70-pound weight capacity, and the ramp is not attached to the rack, but it is included. So still a very decent option for those heavier bikes that are larger and may need a little help getting them onto the rack. Because of its rounded design, you may not even need to use the ramp. It does make it easy to get that front wheel up, and then you get that rear wheel up, and then you secure everything down. But focusing here on our Terrain, this was a great fit for our vehicle. Today, what you saw was the Hollywood Rack's Destination E 2-bike platform rack, and you saw it on the 2023 GMC Terrain.